All right, today for segment one, we are somewhat concluding our series on the Palladium Fantasy role-playing game.
RPG Digest is a live stream podcast discussion, not a step-by-step tutorial. We are going to deviate off topic from time to time because we listen and read chat and we have our own opinions.
And honestly, with this, we can almost read it word for word. Not quite, but almost read it word for word because this is only going to be a few pages.
Right.
We got this. We've got a cool dragon. We've got some, got a little bit there. And then we got timeline. We'll probably spend most of the time on the timeline, to be honest with you.
Well, I have some
I,
amendments that
okay.
that come later.
Okay.
Not later in this segment, but they were written later and they, fit into the Palladium fantasy world, but they
Okay.
weren't written when this came out yet.
So one of the things that I do want to be clear to the people out there who know and understand and have all the books for the Palladium world system, Megaverse, we're only talking about what is in this book. We're not going to try to reference every other book out there and piece all that together. One, I haven't read them. And two, we're just talking about what you get out of the main book for now. If there's time at the end of the year, no, I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying, just for the people out there, who want to correct us on the Wolfen history or something. It's like
right. The only reason I'm going to put this little add-on in here is because it explains throughout this timeline that magic is decreasing, but doesn't explain why. So I know why, and I'm going to add it in there approximately in the timeline what happened and why it happened and why magic is decreasing in the world. That's the only reason.
Sounds good. Okay, so we're actually going to start with the Age of Light because there's one sentence up above, or sorry, Age of Chaos, because there's only one sentence up above that you need to know. Reliable and cohesive recorded history does not begin until the pinnacle of Western Empire about 4,000 years ago. All right, all this other stuff we can skip over. History is like it's like the real world. It's a lot of metaphor and it's a lot of like, I wonder if that was real. So we'll start with the Age of Chaos. Do you want me to start? Or you want to start?
No, I'll go ahead.
Okay.
This one really references the old ones, which are alien intelligences. They are above gods, and they are 99% evil, like the worst evil you could think of. It's said that they created the world just to torture it. They created races just to screw with them.
Hey, that's Vergigorm.
Yeah, basically, yes. But there's no way to prove that. Maybe the universe was here and they just found it. Maybe they're from a different place. Who knows? There's lots of innuendo because again, this was millions and millions of years ago. It's not like there's a Rosetta Stone out there somewhere telling you what happened. There's not. So nobody knows how long ago the Age of Chaos may have lasted, but it's likely to be millions of years because the great old ones, unlike many other alien lesser intelligences who lived to be about 250,000 years old, maybe 500,000, the old ones, the great old ones, are actually immortal. They don't age. They are forever. According to the Tristan Chronicles and other myths, they are said to be locked in the bowels of a planet in a dreamless sleep. Now, what happened here was their creations. Supposedly, they created all the other races that came after them. That is possible, or they just stumbled across this universe. We don't know. But all of the lesser races, the gods, a couple of the good lesser intelligences, heroes, elves, all that stuff got together and sealed the old ones away. Couldn't kill them. Sealed the old ones away with a spell. They are asleep, very much like Cthulhu type slumber type thing. They're sleeping. Do not make any noise near the bedroom. All right, stop it. You don't want them coming back. You don't need that. No one needs that.
So about those shifters.
Yeah, they're all dead now. And by the time Rifts comes out, all the shifters have died, and for good reason. But let's see. Old ones are credited with creating the Palladium world, but again, you can't know. Historians dispute whether changelings are members of the archaic races created by the old ones, whether they appeared during the Age of Light. See, dragons are known to be an ancient race of dimensional travelers, so it's likely that they weren't created by the old ones. And so it starts unraveling there. Again, millions of years ago, you can't tell. All you have to know is the old ones are still alive, but they are locked away, and they are kept locked away by several very powerful gods. Zervin, Brahma, constantly maintain the spells keeping them asleep. And then we get
Kind
to
of
the
like
Age of
kind of
Light.
like Atlas holding up the world thing. Like
Yeah.
you have one job, keep those
Yeah,
old
you
ones
got
behind
one
that door.
job. Yeah, throw sleepy dust at the unknowably evil creature every month. Do that, and you're good to go. And then we have the Age of Light. A period of undetermined time existed before the time of 1,000 magics and the rise of the Elven Empire in the Old Kingdom, originally the New Kingdom. Most scholars believe this period lasted between 30 and 60,000 years, but it may have been
Wow.
longer or shorter. No one knows. Again, record keeping, not the greatest thing. During this period, most of the known modern races are known to have surfaced, including humans, changelings, kobolds, dwarves, gnomes, troglodytes, goblins, hobgoblins, bugbears, trolls, minotaurs, and the giant races, as well as a handful of others. Now, notice there's no Wolfen yet. That comes later. Rifts and ley line activity during this period was roughly equal to that of Rift's Earth, perhaps 10 to 50% greater.
Really?
More magical. Many of the different races, particularly creatures of magic and supernatural beings, may have discovered the Palladium world through magic and dimensional portals during this period. Easy enough. Some may have been refugees, while others may have been just travelers, just wandering the galaxy, wandering the multiverse, and like, wow, this
Oh,
place is a rich
there's a
magical.
Rifts campaign for you. You trip over a ley line, you fall into a portal that brings you to 30,000 years ago. Palladium Fantasy.
That's entirely possible. That's entirely possible.
Good luck with
Can
that.
be done. Or again, they could have come here because they tripped and fell into a portal. That happens. Then we'll go down to page 279. Beings such as elementals, vampires, demons, and devils almost certainly existed during and perhaps before the Age of Chaos. It is likely that some of these creatures were the minions and even the creations of the old ones. That is likely true. Vampires come from vampire intelligences, which are alien intelligences, which are the lesser versions of great old ones. They live between 250,000 and 500,000 years, and they have rules and requirements. They can't come into our world until there's enough vampires to sustain their life force existence, and they can pop into our universe, and stuff gets real bad.
So instead of the
when that
great old
happens.
ones, you're like the kind of okay old ones.
No, they're the not as bad old ones, but still, 4-stage cancer. It's likely that the existence of the dreaded old ones, the great old ones, is what's held these weaker creatures in check and obscurity during the time of chaos. Yes, again, the great old ones tortured everything and everyone just for funsies, including vampire intelligences or other alien intelligence like the Splugor. The Battle of Gods, the mythical lost civilization, or the rise and fall of mankind. Most scholars and historians regard the Battle of Gods as pure myth, largely because the Tristane Chronicles doesn't seem to mention it and because little else is known about it. A few myths taught by the priests of Dragonrite tell of a time shortly after the Age of Chaos when the Yinsloth jungles were beautiful to behold and not infested with monsters and danger. These
Look,
myths speak
I'm
of
not even big on Palladium, and when I hear the words Yin Sloth, I'm like, no, not going there.
Okay. That grew at the heart of the jungle. Its people were farmers, builders, scholars, scientists, and healers who knew nothing about the time of chaos, magic, gods, or war. Their downfall came when one of the great cities fell under the corrupting influence of Stiphan the Black and other evil dragon gods. Stiphan turned the people into pawns and playthings of two rival factions of gods. Through this manipulation, a great war between the gods erupted, and of course, the humans were used as chess pieces, laying waste to the jungle and annihilating the people who once worshipped them. Kimnark Mir and his fellow gods of light were ashamed of the destruction they had wrought and performed magic to restore the jungle. However, the people were beyond help.
Aren't we always?
Yep. Furthermore, the corruption and vast mystic energy released during the Battle of the Gods has forever transformed the jungle into a savage land infested with all manner of mutants and monsters. This tragedy also gave birth to Dragonrite and many of the gods known today. See the book Yinsloth Jungles for more detailed history. We don't need that right now. Although most historians scoff this notion, there are two brief lines in the Tristane Chronicles that might suggest that the myth is real, and trust me, it is. Priests of Dragonright placed the Battle of Gods and the birth of Dragonright about 80 to 90,000 years ago. Humankind would begin to establish itself as an important civilization, starting with the Western Empire an estimated 70,000 years later and around the age of the elf. However, it would not be until the Elven and Dwarven empires fell and the millennium of purification that humans would become a world power.
It sounds like a fun time.
Yeah.
Millennium
of purification. Yeah, it doesn't sound good. It sounds like there's a lot of showers that I don't want to take. It is a well-known fact that the humans who founded the Western Empire came from the south, although most scholars incorrectly attribute the land of the south winds and the northern jungle coast as the place of man's origin. Unknown to historians, the Dragonright legends are true, and it was humans who flourished in the jungles, predating the time of 1,000 magics by at least 20,000 years and the age of the elf by 50,000 years. At some point early in the Age of Light, humankind rose quickly and established a grand kingdom in the once beautiful and serene southern jungles. There is little doubt that if left unmolested, humans would have risen as the first great civilization, followed thousands of years later by the elves and dwarves, and perhaps dramatically changing the history of the world as it would later unfold. Unfortunately, this peaceful nation became caught up in the politics of young gods, and after 50 devastating years of brutal combat equaled only by the Elf-Dwarf War, the jungles and its people were decimated, an event most modern scholars insist is pure myth.
Only because they don't want to, no, that didn't happen. La, 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 la.
Yeah, it's all Elf-Dwarf racism. That's all it is.
Appropriately so.
And then we have the Age of 1,000 Magics. Scholars are at a loss. This is a common theme. Scholars are at a loss. Every goddamn paragraph is going to start with that up until about 1,000 years ago. To when this 1,000-year period may have actually existed. It definitively predates the age of elf, as some ancient elven texts refer to it in legendary terms. Most scholars believe it existed between 2,000 and 10,000 years before the elves became world power. Elves, titans, dragons, and Rahumen were probably a strong force during this period, with the latter suffering losses from which their race would never recover. According to legends, at least 12 different races and civilizations rose and perished between the Age of Light and the end of the Age of 1,000 Magics. Although legends insist that 1,000 different forms of magic existed, most modern historians doubt that there were more than 100, and that many were probably variations of a dozen or so major types of mystic arts. Still, there are those who believe otherwise, and ancient ruins, weapons, and even magic secrets suggest that there were easily several dozen distinct types of magic. Leyline activity and energy levels during this period was roughly equal to that of Rift's Earth. Okay, so
tempering down a little bit.
Now it's coming down a little bit. Now this right here is a more of a settling, right? This has nothing to do with a trend. It's more of a settle. Sometime after this period, the dwarves, kobolds, and gnome civilizations and cultures also made great strides and began to become significant kingdoms and nations, though none could equal the elves and dwarves in sheer size, population, power, or greatness. Meanwhile, humans were little more than warlike barbarians and nomadic tribesmen. In the north, the first whimpers of the canine races, Wolfen, Coil, and whatever other doggy nonsense that is.
Cancoran? I don't even remember the
frozen tundra of the great northern. Hey, you're the one who did segment 2. I'm making fun of your favorite race.
No, all I said is I don't even remember the Cancoran.
Yeah, well, they're all dead now. They've all been spayed or neutered. Okay.
Well, before we move on to the elves, we got a couple things to do, but I have a question for you here.
Shoot.
Everything that we've talked about right now, because even chat's been saying, love Palladium lore. Why is this important? Why is this important for a game master who is going to run Palladium Fantasy? Or is it important for a game master who is going to run Palladium Fantasy? Because we're about to get into stuff that definitely you can say is important.
Yes.
Because this has direct effect, or at worst indirect effect.
The Age of Elves, starting with the Age of Elves and the Elven Dwarf War, that's when more reliable record keeping was made. And not only that, that's when rune magic was prolific, and that's where rune weapons and magic items come from. So, that has a direct impact on the game. Everything else prior is game master knowledge, basically. You don't need to tell the players this. It's unnecessary to run the game.
How could somebody use this in their game?
Well, if you are playing the Palladium multiverse, then all of that backstory affects every other Palladium game. Is the background, the invisible background, the invisible backdrop to every other Palladium game, not just Rifts, but Beyond the Supernatural, Nightbane,
So it's kind of
Heroes
linkage knowledge.
Unlimited. Yeah. This is all a shared history between all of the systems. So it is important to tie them all together. But the players, especially if you're only playing one system, all this knowledge is unnecessary. It's excellent flavor, but unless you're playing through the multiverse, then it's unnecessary to know that.
All right, I got 4 chats.
Okay.
So Billy Rubin says, "Are the alien vampires like that hottie and Life Force?" I don't know Life Force.
No, unfortunately not.
Okay, apparently you know what that is too. I don't.
Yes, you don't know the movie Life Force? Oh my God, it's on my Plex. You got to watch it.
Okay.
She is hot and she's naked through most of it.
Oh, okay. You said it's on your Plex. I haven't been there in a while. I'll have to check that out.
There you go.
No,
the vampire intelligences are giant blobs with, I don't know, several dozen eyes, several dozen tentacles. That's their true form.
Okay.
Lots of mouths. It's not pretty. Alien, but basically almost every alien intelligence has the same basic form. They're giant blobs of non-distinct flesh with lots of tentacles and between 1 and 100 eyes.
Eyes have it. The Real Long Shot says, "I love me some Palladium Fantasy. The world lore is great. It is great.
It is.
And it doesn't matter which setting you play.
Best is world building.
Yes. Let's see. Violence sells everything. Warning about the Insulat Jungles book. It was never released for 2nd edition. Probably didn't feel it needed to be.
Oh. Yeah. If it's just a source book, like, explaining the world, you can easily, and if there are any stats in that book, you can easily convert them. It's not hard.
And finally, Weird Guy says, "Lots of lore gives you starting ideas for game session plots." No, I agree with that, and I'm not questioning like what's in this book. Up until this point, though, I like it, and in fact, I think it's well written where it's only just a few paragraphs. It's not like 18 pages of nonsense that you don't need, but it gives you a background.
Years ago, like whatever.
Right. Yeah. But it gives you enough that if you want to throw something out there as the game master, be like, this could predate the Elf Dwarf War, or this could awaken the old ones. You could stop throwing that sleep potion on them, as Ethan Doug was saying, and have something bad happen. Now you kind of have an understanding what may or may not have taken place before then. So is it useful for everybody? No, but I think it is. It's a good part of the book to have.
Yes.
Right. That's all I wanted to throw up for comments. We shall move along now to the Age of Elves. Can I leave for this part? Because I hate elves.
No, I'll read it though. Elves became the dominant civilization in the area known as the Old Kingdom, which was originally called the New Kingdom. The Age of the Elf lasted for 10,000 years, the first 8,000 of which were filled primarily with advancements and triumph. The middle 4,000 are considered the golden age of both elves and dwarves, ending tragically at the end of the 2,000-year-long elf-dwarf 2,000 years of fighting.
Well, that's like the 100 Years' War, but for elves and dwarves.
Dwarves live a long time, but not like elves.
But I'm just saying, I mean, if you want to equate it, I mean, that sounds, again, for us humans, that's forever and a half. That's like the rise and fall of multiple Roman empires, unless you cut the Western, I guess, or Eastern, sorry. But no, I mean, but for an elf dwarf, that's like what? It's only a few generations.
Right. But here's a key difference. Leyline activity and energy levels during this period was 10 to 20% less than that of Rift's Earth. Now, this is a significant drop, and it's significant enough to note that when lots of people die near ley lines, their PPE is absorbed into the planet. That's how Rift's Earth started. Millions of people died all at once at just the right moment, just the right astronomical event. It supercharged the ley lines and they blew. Now, how is it that 2,000 years of war, sentient beings of magic dying all the time, and still the energy levels are going down? Well, I'll try to explain that later, but I wanted everyone to put a
Ooh,
pin in that.
ooh, we got a cliffhanger.
Yeah, there you
A
go. I want to
tease.
put a pin in it. Approximately 3,000 years into this period, the Dwarven Empire grew to such size, power, and greatness that it rivaled the elves and may have threatened to surpass them. During the same period, humans also began to rise from barbarism, with
Woo.
many beginning to establish settings and villages. Again, put a pin in this. Human civilization starts making a comeback. There's a reason for that. In the north, the humanoid canines were forming warrior clans and covering the snow with blood. That's your dirty wolfen. Ogres also came into the scene, but exhibited the nomadic and warlike tendencies of the humans who came before them. Sometime in the 8th millennium, the antagonism between elf and dwarf grew to be intolerable, erupting into war sometime in the beginning of the 9th millennium. The loss of life and destruction during the Elf-Dwarf War is legendary, and many people speak of it as if it were recent history rather than 6,000 years ago. In the end, it is estimated 9 million elves out of 100 million survived their
Oh,
greatest
wow.
cataclysm since their battle against the old ones. 9 million lived out of 100 million total.
91% died.
Yes. And how is magic still going down during this time? That's a whole lot of death PPE getting released into the world. But it's happening. Today, the once glorious New Kingdom is known as the Old Kingdom and shunned as the domain of monsters. Without the great Dwarven, Elven, and Kobold empires to hold them in check, the so-called monster races invaded the New Kingdom in droves. Savage, barbaric races of goblins, orcs, ogres, trolls, ratlings, and giants occupied the ruins and partially rebuilt elven cities. Nomadic hordes comprised mainly of orcs, along with the occasional tribe of ogres and goblins, swarm across the plains and dusty wastelands. Kobolds, goblins, an occasional tribe clan of troglodytes, and the greatest concentration of hobgoblins left in the world, an estimated 1 million, inhabit the
Wow.
foothills and precipices of the Old Kingdom mountains. So, you see what happens? Even though elves and dwarves, are demi-humans and therefore lesser than humans in every way, they were a civilizing force. With them gone, the monsters come and they take over. Cats away, then hobgoblins will play, apparently. Small tribes of gnomes, changelings, and other obscure races are also said to inhabit remote areas of the Old Kingdom as well. Likewise, dragons, the Sphinx, Waternyx, Sivan, Raumen, giants, and other beings can be found in sheltering mountains. That's great. Minor nuisances. The Baalagor wastelands were once part of the elves' fabulous empire and the location of its greatest city. A place of beauty, art, and learning, the golden city of Balagor.
Balgor? Balgor?
Bal. There's
Actually,
two
it'd be
A's
Ball.
though.
Yeah,
There,
Balgor.
yeah, Balgor was practically a kingdom in and of itself. It was home to 8 million elves, another 5 million elves, 10 million orcs and goblins, and 500,000 humans and other races living in growing communities around it. The entire area, and then some, was completely obliterated by a mystic onslaught 1,000 times more devastating than the atomic bomb dropped by Americans on Hiroshima on Earth during World War II, according to the Tristan Chronicles. Not since the age of the old ones, with the world so was tremble, blah, blah, blah,
Blah, blah,
everything's
blah, yeah.
bad, suck it. We had to reference World War II somewhere in this book, and there we're done with that. Several thousand years later, the land is still a desert wasteland with little vegetation. It is inhabited by small tribes of Jotun, Nimro, Androth, Sun Devils, goblins, orcs, and a handful of other creatures. All right, you go ahead with the Millennium of Purification because you're all about those 4 showers.
Wow. You trying to reference my heritage?
Yep.
All right. Many historians argue that the Millennium of Purification should be considered the 11th and last millennium in the Age of Elves. Others consider it an entirely new era, with the Age of Elves ending with the final days of the Elf-Dwarf Wars. You decide. After the Elf-Dwarf War, the two enemies joined forces to procreate because they were missing a lot of children. Joined forces to purge the world of the most dangerous and loathsome forms of magic that had so decimated their respective kingdoms. Rune magic and rune weapons were among the most notable magics eliminated, along with a dozen others that are long forgotten. Assholes. During this time,
rune magic, I get it. Rune magic's bad. It's inherently evil.
Prove it. During this time, humans rose out of barbarism and began to form their own cultures and fledgling kingdoms. The canine races of the north are also said to have emerged during this millennium, but would remain in barbarism by human standards forever.
Yeah, basically.
I read that for Heathen Dog. I was his stand-in for that one.
Yeah, that was good.
The time of man. I should steal this one from Heathen Dog, but I will let you go with it. Oh, you want me to? Okay.
I'll go for it.
The time of man has. Wait. Is there any chat that I want to look at? Here, I had 4 stars, so that's enough. Mark Hockman says Heathen Dog hates elves almost as much as Max. I don't know. It's pretty close. I think we flip-flop. He hates demi-humans in general. I just don't like elves.
Yeah.
The only reason Garth. Right. The only reason Garthon played an elf in Neverwinter was to annoy Heathen Dog. The secret's out. The secret's out. Handle that as you wish.
Go human or go home.
Go human or go. I think it was because of the creation of rune magic that sucked up all the world's PPE. Maybe.
Incorrect. Rune magic does not draw magic from the ambient area around it. You actually take a supernatural creature, you burn away its body, you condense its magical essence, and you stuff it into an item, and that's what powers the item. So you're actually enslaving a sentient being forever inside a thing. And
I didn't read that with rune magic.
Oh yeah, for all accounts, it is in perpetual torment.
No wonder why that sword tried to corrupt me.
It's very angry.
I say tried. The reality is it did, but I say tried. And lo, what was once 100 million elves was 9 million, and what was 240 million dwarves was 6 million. You do the math on that. A couple of people died.
Couple.
Well, no, I said people. Those weren't people.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like the humans were already decimated by gods. I mean,
we had our own problems.
You know, if the stupid little gods kept their hands out of the world, the humans would have civilized all these barbaric demi-humans, and the world would have had, 100,000 years of golden age. But no.
Yeah, so Yinslot Jungle 2nd edition is to come out. Good.
Okay, cool. Hope it's not Savage Lands.
And Chimerian says that he's enjoying this. Good. I'm glad you're enjoying this. Hopefully we're making this a little more interesting than just, reading a textbook too. So, but the thing is about Bob used to say this back when we were playing, in the 90s, playing Rifts and Palladium and Fantasy and Heroes Unlimited. He said, I always wanted to hug and punch Kevin Simbita. These are his words, not mine. He said, I hate his game system, but he has the best lore and best background setting of any, at least of the time, in the 90s, of any major system out there. And I tend to agree, maybe not the punching part, but I tend to agree that if I ever need some sort of inspiration on lore or world building, you can look at these books and and this is just the main book. This isn't even a world book.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The time of man. The time of man has lasted approximately 6,000 years since the Western Empire took root. For the first 3,000 years, the Western Empire was the human power and is infamous for having launched incredible military campaigns of conquest. So we had the Crusades, the Romans, the Mongols. We had all of that wrapped into one. Well, maybe I should say
no. This world needed it. The elves and dwarves fucked everything up. And the humans had to come in with the, a purifying dignity.
We're delivering freedom.
Exactly. Delivering freedom at the end of a sword was necessary because after the elves and dwarves screwed up the world, now all there is monsters running around. The elves and dwarves, hiding in their trees or hiding in their little mountains, licking their wounds, crying, "Oh, woe is me!" While the humans are getting stuff done, making moves. Losers.
Just remember, there's the proof is in the pudding. The elves and dwarves ruined the world.
Yeah. I mean, they can't even win a war. No one won. Come on.
There's still somebody alive. There's not a winner yet.
There weren't even any nuclear bombs. There was no mutually assured destruction.
Well,
Someone should have won.
It said
Not
it was
only
stronger.
are they both losers, they're both quitters.
It said it was stronger than the. Anyway, oh my God, where was I here? Oh, with time, the glory days of the Western Empire have faded, forcing them to share the limelight with such smaller but powerful kingdoms as Timuro, Byzantium, Lopan, and the loose confederation of independent kingdoms known as the Eastern Territory. Still, the Western Empire probably remains the wealthiest and most powerful human kingdom in the known world. Although humans have been a dominant force in the world for the last 6,000 years, it's only been the last 300 that human civilization has suddenly expanded its reach to nearly all corners of the world. The older races have watched humankind mature as they slowly become the masters of their destiny and their world. Only the Wolfen, seem to have any chance of matching them, provided they don't destroy each other first.
Exactly.
I watched a couple of videos.
Dogs will be dogs. And
that's pack mentality.
We will domesticate them.
We'll domesticate them.
Don't worry.
So, I watched a couple of videos on Palladium probably about a month or so ago, and both of them said that Wolfen are pretty much like the only good guys that in the world nowadays. But your mileage may vary on that. Elf, dwarf, and gnome have all served as mentors and allies to the humans, helping them build their kingdoms and reach new heights.
No. Let me wind that back a little bit. What it says is elf, dwarf, and gnome have all served as mentors and allies to humans, helping them build their kingdom. What it really means to say is that the failed races of these demi-human idiots are now trying to ride the coattails of the human empire's greatness to try and make up for their colossal failures in the past. That's what it should say. That's if you read between the lines, that's what it says.
Very well. Some say as penance for their sins, or for the sins of their forefathers during the Great War. Their efforts have earned them the eternal friendship of humans. No injection there. I was waiting for you to.
Oh no. Yeah. Friendship. Replace that with subservience to humans.
Scritches behind ears.
Yeah.
Lay down by your dish.
Yeah.
Okay. Most human domains regard these three races as equals, and many elves and dwarves serve as the heads of state and commerce, religious leaders, advisors, nobility, knights and wizards supreme. Ley line activity and energy levels are roughly 60% less. Wow.
Yeah.
Than that of
Rift drop, right? A sharp drop in just a few thousand years, when before it was Rift's level or higher for millions of years. Sharp drop.
Now, we're not going to read every line in this timeline summary. That would take the entire segment.
No. But what I want to do is circle back to what I put a pin in earlier.
Okay.
All right. This is when where is it? When the magic started to actually fall. There we go. The Age of Elves.
So the Elf Dwarf War, Age of Elves begins in the new 18,000 years ago.
Yep. Now, the Age of Elves, and then the next thing on the timeline is humans begin to have a world presence. There is a reason that magic started dropping toward the end of the age of the Elven Empire and the Elf Dwarf War, and the reason human beings started to become started to lift out of barbarism after the gods crushed their actual civilization thousands of years earlier. Atlanteans. The island of Atlantis was the hidden gem of the earth. The Atlanteans, having mastered all forms of magic, rune magic, tattoo magic, shifter magic, all of the magic that is usually known only to alien intelligences or gods, they knew. Only problem was they were a little bit ambitious. They said, we can open rifts at will to any place we want with zero chance of failure. What if, hear me out. What if we open a single rift that'll lead to anywhere? Wouldn't that be cool? Like anywhere at once. Wouldn't that be great? And they're like, yeah, that would be great. Let's try that. They tried it. It didn't work out. What
Did it
happened
not go to
was
anywhere?
no. It's just that all of the Earth's magic started going everywhere.
Oh. So
It
we're leaking magic
drained
into the
the
universe?
Earth. Yeah, it drained the Earth of ley line energy and just blew it out into every other piece of the multiverse all at once until they could finally get it shut. But by the time they closed it, the damage was done. Now the magic in the world is starting to drop. Now, it only dropped 10 to 20% during the Elf Dwarf War because the world was constantly being recharged by the tens of millions of deaths that were happening throughout the entire time. That's why it only dropped 10 to 20%.
Hey,
But
I can't cast this spell. Can you nuke somebody, please? All right.
there you go. But after the Elf Dwarf War was over, 6,000 years later, it was over half as the magic is under half as powerful as it was previously. That's because what happened was the Atlanteans basically opened up the drain on the bathtub of magic that is the world and couldn't stop it. So they felt obviously very guilty. What many of them did is rift away. While magic was still strong enough, they rifted away. But others with grief and a heavy heart were so upset at themselves by causing all of this nonsense on the earth, they went out into the world to help as much as they could. And the majority of the race that they helped were the humans, because they knew from their own lore that humans used to be a great civilization, if not for meddlesome gods, and they who thought themselves in their hubris to be like gods and then screwed everything up, decided to help the humans. They gave the humans their civilization without all of their flaws. That's why humans rose to power so quickly at this time, because Atlanteans merged with them, because Atlanteans look just like humans, just a little bit taller on average, and they live a lot longer. That's it. You could easily mistake an Atlantean for a human, especially at a distance of 10 feet or more. Easy enough. Look just like us. Now,
So
eventually, magic dropped enough to where Atlantis looked like it fell into the sea. Actually, it went into a pocket dimension, which would come back later when the rifts were activated in Palladium rifts. But many of the Atlanteans stay, and they help the humans reform a civilization. That's why they went from barbarism to a great nation in just a couple thousand years. So that's why magic is dropping, and magic is still dropping in Palladium Fantasy. And if you play the game long enough and you have characters who live long enough, they will live to see magic disappear from the world.
No.
Yes. All right.
I'm slowly scrolling through. But let's hit some chat and then we'll move on. So Camarian says, well, it's been a deeper dive in lore than most people have ever given to the setting. This is just the basic book. This is only the main book. We wouldn't have time to do the world books. I will say, though, that if you like Rift's lore, Total Party Skills has a ton of awesome videos on that. Check them out. Of course, tell them Legion Myth sent you. Omen Owl says, Wolfen are just human bitches. That's gross.
Well, no. If they're all
gross.
Females, he's right.
It's still gross.
Fair enough.
Yeah, this is what we do. Don't do it. Learn from their mistakes. Never trust an elf.
Exactly.
I mean, Shadowrun even wrote a book.
Is this lore in the Rift's Atlantean World book? Yes. Yes, it is. And it came out after this book, so that's why it's not in here.
And finally, so that's why Zentradi used magic missiles. It all makes sense now.
They use protoculture, which is kind of like science magic, but you know, it's just as much science magic as Star Trek, so whatever.
Fair. Well, somebody put in a chat on there saying that the Invid Invasion is my favorite game era of Robotech. But so today, we're just gonna skip to today. Humans dominate the known world. Elves, dwarves, and gnomes remain their most trusted allies. Some clans and kingdoms of kobolds, some clans and kingdoms of kobolds, 20%, have also become tentative allies of humans, but most, 50%, remain fiercely independent, while others, 30%, associate with their fellow monster races. Changelings continue to be persecuted wherever they are discovered. We didn't really talk much about the changelings, but that's fine.
Changelings are naturally psychic and empathic, and people don't trust that for the most part.
Giants and trolls are races on the verge of extinction.
Thank goodness.
Countless unorganized tribes, clans, and bands of orcs, goblins, and ogres are found throughout the world, and they continue to ravage the Old Kingdom and Belgor wastelands, where their numbers are greatest. The Wolfen Empire grows more agitated, and a declaration of war over disputed borderland seems inevitable. Theologians fear the repeat of the Elf-Dwarf War may be relived by humans and Wolfen.
I doubt it. The Wolf are going to roll over like the dogs they are.
I see what you did there. Real quickly, hit. Well, there's only one chat, so Rift's retcon is bogus.
Rift's recon.
Oh, recon. I'm sorry. Bogus. Yeah. I don't. Now I don't.
I have no response to that.
Yeah, when I thought it said retcon, I was like, I thought there might be something in there, but I don't know. I'm confused now. All right, do you want to talk about the kingdoms? Well, we need to somehow, some way.
Yeah, okay. The Kingdom of Byzantium. This is a new kingdom of proud seafaring peoples, and you can see it's in the very, very northern tip of the supercontinent, covered in black. Yeah, right there. The populace is almost exclusively human and is the furthest human kingdom in the known world, furthest north. Okay, because there's also humans in the furthest south part of the
Remember,
kingdom.
within the last 300 years, we've
spread out everywhere, right? Yeah. It is much stronger than any of the city-states and kingdoms in the Eastern Territories and has much fewer bloody conflicts with the Wolfen Empire, probably because of their remote location. Yeah, you think? That's a reason why the U.S. flourished after cutting ties with England. We were a sea away, and there was a bunch of dirty French who can't do anything but surrender above us, and weak neighbors below. So we were basically left alone. That's why we grew strong.
Subscribe for weak French.
No. Weak Mexicans. Professional. What do you call it? Quitters. Yeah, professional quitters are the French.
Okay.
Byzantium is considered to be a member of the Dominion of Man and do much of their trade with the Eastern Territory, but is an independent kingdom. See Palladium RPG Book 3, Adventures of the High Seas, first or second editions for more information about Byzantium. Now, the Great Northern Wilderness. This is your equivalent of Russia, and wolves are Russians. All right. It's a whole lot of land. You think, wow, they got a lot of land, but there's not a lot of people because most of it is just
Siberia.
Yeah, basically Siberia. So, whatever. The Great Northern Wilderness is an immense, lightly populated region of forest and snow. There you go. The northern half is covered in a dense, seemingly endless coniferous forest that climbs up the Algor Mountains to the northeast. The lower forest expanse turns into a mix of forest of hardy deciduous trees and conifer trees that stretches down into the northern half of the Eastern Territory. The wilderness has only recently become the target of a human settlement, primarily along the southern coast and along Ophid's grasslands. Most of the wilderness remains unexplored by humans as well as other races, and even the Wolfen who call this land home have not explored or mapped all of it. A good 40% remains unknown, and 60% is not mapped in detail.
Oh.
They don't even know what's in their own backyard. Friggin' dogs. The Wolfen Empire claims
the land's only good for gulags.
Oh, they have no idea what's there. They have no maps of almost half of it, but they claim the entire Great Northern Wilderness and part of the Northern Eastern Territory as their domain.
We peed on all the trees.
Yep, that's basically their logic. Oh, we peed on it, it's ours. However, while the wolf and their kin are found throughout the north, they are strongest along the Algor Mountains, where the capital city is located, and along the Algerian Sea coast right into the northern section of the Eastern Territory. Now, if we look at that, yeah, go down a little bit right there. The Wolfen territory is in black. That giant Siberian. Nope, go up a little bit.
Oh, up.
up. That's down. Your military up. There you go. On the left side, the black area is the Wolfen territory. And
Yeah, we
the
already looked at that.
the shaded area is what they're calling the Eastern Human Empire. And that's where they meet. This is the contested area where the Wolfen say they have, but the humans say, no, puppy, go chase your tail. All right, now we will move on to the Northern Mountains. And as you can see, it's a string of mountains from the northernmost part of the continent down to about the middle where it meets the ocean again. These great mountains cut the land of the damned away from the great northern wilderness, running from coast to coast over 1,000 miles. Legends say that the gods created the mountains to protect the world from the evil that abounds on the other side. The mountains are populated by a mixture of races with several large, strong communities of kobolds and some of the last troglodyte and gnome clans. Okay, so we're going to find out what's on the other side of this mountain later, but not right now, because the next
Stop
is
with the
Ophid's
teases.
grasslands. Ophid's grasslands are on the good side of the mountains. This is a great flat tundra, largely uninhabited. In the northeast, there exists the Devil's Mark, which is believed to be a dimensional nexus to the Devil's dimension. The Devil's Mark is shunned by all people. The plains are virtually devoid of life except for a handful of tiny nomadic tribes of orcs, goblins, and bugbear, as well as the occasional lone or small group of human, bearmen, wolfen, coil.
That's how it's always been pronounced in the games I played.
What? Coil?
Coil.
Okay. Kankoran and Emrin. The Western Empire has been considering expanding along the southern coast of the grasslands. Well, land of the damned.
I hate Coil.
Okay. Land of the damned. Here's all that evil that's on the other side of the mountains that apparently gods put up. Little is known about this mysterious region of the north. It is protected from explorers and adventurers by massive mountain ranges along the eastern borders and the sea serpent-filled waters along its coasts. The Sea of Despair in the north is particularly dangerous. Hence, they don't call it the Sea of Tranquility. They call it the Sea of Despair. It infests all manner of dreadful beasts and given to terrible storms. No vessel in all of the collective memory of humankind has ever survived passage through this sea. According to some legends, the sea serpents are said to be bred by the powers that rule this mysterious land. Legends also speak of mages who practice necromancy and other forbidden magic, as well as a place called the Citadel, the center of civilization and power. The land of the damned is believed to be inhabited by giants, ogres, trolls, dragons, demons, and all manner of evil creatures.
Do you know why they say that? What is it? The necromancy, legends also speak of mages who practice necromancy and other forbidden magic, because then the weirdos who want to study necromancy go there and just die.
Yeah, that would most likely die on the way.
Either
they
way,
probably
but
wouldn't even make it to the mountains.
They're like, oh, you want to learn necromancy? You need to go to the land of the damned.
Yeah, it's basically a trap. Yeah, it's an idiot trap, like the lottery.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Oh, no.
So,
Yeah,
the Western Empire, that's you. Go.
Why is it me?
It's you now.
All right.
All human,
the oldest known human kingdom is the Western Empire, bolstered by a massive influx of elven and dwarven refugees. Put them in camps, and some say forbidden secrets of magic. The city-state quickly grew into the first of the great human kingdoms. For nearly 1,500 years, the Western Empire was the power to be reckoned with, and even today remains the largest and most feared of the human kingdoms.
Thank you, Atlantis.
I mean, just kind of out there. I wonder if this is supposed to be like a Roman Empire type thing with the Mediterranean right there. Conquered North Africa. There's Carthage.
No, the island of Atlantis was actually inside that inland sea area.
Sure, but I'm saying this looks like Carthage, and this looks like
Yeah, but in the inland sea right there, like you see,
I got it.
You see where? Can you put your mouse over it so other people can see?
This.
Yeah, that area. That's where Atlantis was before it sank. So, the Atlanteans went to the first humans they found, which were the Western Human Empire. Well, what would become the Western Human Empire.
I said, wow, you're barbarians.
Yeah.
The Western Empire has launched many famous campaigns of conquest, crusades, and expeditionary forces. Rumors of the last decade suggest the Empire, may be gearing up for a new era of expansion into the Old Kingdom. That sounds smart. And perhaps, actually, no, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Old Kingdom's all monsters and so forth now, right? We
Yeah,
don't have to.
just
We don't have to
murder
own
them
it. Just
all. It's
murder them
free
all. Take
stuff.
the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's free stuff. Monsters don't count. They're not people.
Right. Into the Old Kingdom, and perhaps Ophid's grassland in the north, and some fear Phi and Lopan as well. The Western Empire rose to greatness, but quickly slid into decadence.
Oh,
At
that's what
one
happened.
point, yeah. Again, quick is relative. It could be 200 years in human terms. I mean, that's just what, one elf life, not even.
Not even.
At one point, the entire empire seemed to be on the verge of collapse, torn apart by despotic leadership, internal skirmishes between city-states. Oh, internal skirmish. I put a comma in there that didn't exist. Internal skirmishes between city-states, rampant atrocities, fanatical religious cults, thieving, murder, assassination, corruption, and general social political decay. It's kind of like today on Twitter.
Yeah.
You just explained Twitter.
Yeah, that's what the social media has done.
It was Emperor Leopold I. Of course it was. With his legions from the east, armed with weapons of lightning and counseled by the Cyclops. The Cyclops. The one and only Cyclops. Okay. Who conquered the crumbling cities.
Well, I think Cyclops and Cyclops are the, it's kind of like deer and deer.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might be right. For some reason, I figured it'd be like Cyclopsy or something, but you're probably right.
Yeah.
The following generations of emperors continued to rout evil malignancies from the land, reuniting the city-states and rebuilding the Western Empire. Again, the spires of our cities gleam in the sun, feared and respected as the world's leading power. Oh, sorry. The Western Empire has been the throne of human civilization for 6,000 years and remains the most advanced in the ways of magic, but is equally renowned for its continuing decadence, corruption, slavery, blood sport, and cruelty. Oh, it is Rome. We miss Rome, don't we? Its 1,000 gleaming cities are still beset by corruption and dozens of terrible cults. Many cities are, maybe it's India. Actually, it sounds like ancient India to me. Many cities are ruled or controlled by powerful thieves guilds, wizards, or assassin societies. How do assassins have societies? Come on now. You lost me with that one. That's like that stupid comic book thing. What's that called? Al Ghul or whatever the hell that.
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, that nonsense. A bizarre religious cults and sects also thrive among the thronging people of this civilization. The people to the north and the eastern territory call it the Empire of Sin. Oh, it's Las Vegas. It's one big Las. Hey, for Battletech fans, it's the Magistracy of Canopus. We found it. We're home. The Empire has also become increasingly militaristic, building upon both its fleet and army. Young Lord Itomas speaks boldly of global conquest. He's young. Let him go. Talk about his nonsense. It's okay. And is rumored to
trying to get chicks.
Right, exactly. And he knows how to do it. He's got power. He just needs to show it.
Yeah.
And is rumored to struck a bargain with the Cyclops, just as his forefathers had done so many generations ago. It is also rumored that Itomas has convinced the ancient hermit wizard, the ancient, so there's only one, known as the Slayer of Mountains. He's probably the guy that's going to take down the mountains up in the north there and just let everything come across. He's the one necromancer that found his way and came back.
Oh, man, there's always got to be one. Damn it.
Yeah, right? The Slayer of Mountains is believed to be the greatest living wizard of this age, though few have ever seen him. Oh, it's Clark Kent and Superman. It's also rumored that it was he who tutored Itomas in the arts of magic. It is no secret that Lord Itomas can kill things with his eyes. Okay, writing got a little weird this last paragraph, but it's okay. Major Sonic with an unnatural amount of ISP. He's a mutant. Yep. Humans are led by mutants. Oh, and then so the Isle of Cyclops is right there. Kind of makes sense that people saw him. So the Isle of Homer Simpsons. Anybody who played EverQuest knows the reference. This island is populated and ruled by those one-eyed giants. It is a haven for all giants and many of the monster races. For giants, that's a really tiny island. I'm just saying. when you consider, the size of a giant versus the size of a human, it's not a lot of space. The Western Empire is the only human kingdom known to periodically trade and make alliances with the Cyclops. The Isle of the Four Sisters are also claimed by the Cyclops and are inhabited by griffons, creatures of magic, and other giant races and their allies. All right. I'm scrolling down for just a second. How many more of these are there? Actually, okay, not too many. I'll do the Eastern Empire. Eastern Empire. The Eastern Territory is geographic. Oh, here, let's look at it first. What the hell is it? Oh, that's the Cyclops. So Eastern Territory, right here. Remember, that's the disputed land, right?
Yeah.
And here's the real Eastern Territories.
No. All the disputed land is only disputed by dirty dogs. So the whole thing is Eastern Territory. The Wolfen will die. Don't worry.
Somebody hasn't caught up with his future. I mean, his history.
They will either be collared or killed.
Collared or killed. Hey, you know what? You feed us well. Whatever. So I have to perform a few tricks and roll on my back every now and again.
Everyone's got to work for their food. Shut up and bounce this on your nose.
The Eastern Territory is geographically larger than any other of the human kingdoms, but is comprised of hundreds of tiny independent city-states, towns, and villages, and a handful of larger fledgling kingdoms, all loosely allied to each other via trade agreements and diplomatic pacts. Oh, it's Europe, World War I. There is no one central government or united leadership, which may prove to be its greatest weakness when confronted by a unified enemy like the Wolfen Empire. Furthermore, this so-called territory, so-called territory, geez, even the historians in here are just like, screw it, is predominantly unexplored wilderness with the oldest and most prosperous kingdoms and communities located along the Great River and southern ocean coastline. By contrast, the Western Empire is one of the most densely populated regions in the world. So there are a few people out here. So without getting all racist and so forth, which I don't think is racist, this is kind of like your Mongol steppes, I guess.
Well,
I'm not talking
later on. Later on, it gets into the fact that just like now, where 80% of the world's population, or was it like 70 or 80% of the world's population lives at or near the coast, it's the same thing for the Eastern Empire. Most of them live at or near the coast, where food is abundant, water flows, all that stuff, lots of rivers, all that good stuff. That it just makes life more livable. So it's understandable.
The civilized areas of the Eastern Territories are dominated by humans, elves, and dwarves, although gnomes, kobolds, orcs, goblins, ogres, and others inhabit the region. Many of the eastern communities are boom towns. Woohoo! Oh, now I'm picturing Mad Max. And the entire territory is one of the fastest developing areas in the world. Oh, it's Africa. New city state. See, it's like everywhere Earth.
Well, yeah, this is the whole idea of this whole world building experience is so you can see parts of the current world in all parts of this one, because our current world came from here. So there's going to be aspects of the current world in this fantasy world, and that was purposeful.
Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with some of the chat. I want to star some of these. All right, I'll come back to that a little bit. Okay. New city, states, towns, villages, outposts seem to appear overnight, but as the humans push beyond the Great River and into the north, they begin to invade the lands claimed by the Wolfen Empire. Worse, the Wolfen and humans share a bloody history of misunderstanding. Yeah, maybe we don't like being scratched behind the ears. Hatred and war since their earliest encounters. And by the way, yeah, all the little Wolfen jokes in chat there, fuck and you. That's actually, some of them are actually pretty funny. The land, and I'll show a couple of them later. The land itself is a blend of rolling hills, grasslands, and mixed forests of coniferous and deciduous trees. The northern half is predominantly dense mix of forest of coniferous. Wait, did I just? Oh, it's using the same words again.
He didn't have a stroke. He did it twice. Yeah, it's just bad writing.
Mixed forest of coniferous. Oh my God, coniferous and deciduous trees, broken occasionally by light forests and glens. This region is mostly unexplored and uninhabited. The southern half is covered with lighter mix of forest, broken by the occasional grassland, pastures, farmlands, and new villages. This is the region currently being settled by humans and their allies, with the greatest numbers along the coast. The Eastern Territory is perhaps the greatest existing sea power. And look, there's nothing. If you actually look at the east, wow, I'm a sea power with nothing to. I would rather be a sea power here, and I can just jot across. These territories, perhaps greatest existing sea power, rivaled only by the Western Empire and Byzantium. The seaports dot the coastline, and some of the largest, most powerful eastern cities tower above the sea, as Heathen Dog was saying a little bit ago.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do 2 more, and then you can finish this up, okay?
Okay.
Fine Lopan. Right here, right here. If you can see me circling, right there. Can you see me circling on the screen? No, you can't. Wait, can you?
Nope. I can't see your mouse.
Oh, that's weird.
I could before. I can't. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I see it now.
I had to click. Okay. These are both island kingdoms and part of the collective of fledgling nations settling the Eastern Territory. Both are very developed, with dozens of large cities, seaports, and fleets, and are quite self-sufficient. Rumors of the Western Empire's expansion of its fleets and armies have made some of the inhabitants nervous. The rich lands would make a nice addition to the empire. Lopan is a favorite vacation spot for Western nobility and the wealthy. Oh, it's Crimea. And finally, for me, finally, Old Kingdom Mountains. Look at that little dottedness. These ancient mountains hold the last vestiges of the great kobold kingdoms. The kobold people suffered greatly from the elf-dwarf wars. Well, yes, and are slowly losing their place in the era of man. Goodbye. Still, the Old Kingdom Mountains remain the stronghold of kobold kind with an estimated 6 million. Oh my God, we haven't 6 million. Somebody get some freaking kobold traps out there. Jesus. Actually, they would be the ones making the traps. Never mind. 6 million nestled in the mountains and several million others, scattered around the world. How big is this world? These mountains were once
one supercontinent, so, big.
Okay. These mountains were once completely dominated by dwarves whose fabulous subterranean kingdoms honeycomb their entire length. The dwarven kingdoms were second in size, power, and glory only to the elves, and behind them were the kobold kingdoms. It was within the hallowed bowels. Yes, bowels is a good word. Of these mountains that the dwarves forged the fabled rune swords. However, the epic battles between dwarf and elf would lay waste to the entire dwarven civilization. Was it 240 elves dropped down, or dwarves dropped down to 6 million? 240 million to 6 million. Today, some of the old dwarven tunnels have been reclaimed by dwarves, kobolds, troglodytes, or goblins, but most, 70%, are collapsed or crumbling ruins inhabited by the ghosts of the past. And Heathen Dog can pick us back up with the Old Kingdom.
The Old Kingdom, or the folly of demihumans. Despite the ancient ruins, drawings, and countless stories about the age of elf and dwarf, none of the young races, as dwarves refer to humans, Wolfen, and others, can truly picture what an ancient culture was really like nearly 15,000 years ago. Today, the Old Kingdom is little more than a desolate wasteland populated by so-called by actual monster races. You called them that yourself earlier in the book. They're monster races. Only the occasional elven stronghold towers above the scrub plains and light forests. Their golden towers and great walls stand as impressive testament to a bygone era. These are among the oldest surfaced cities in the world, and a few places on the continent where one will find several thousand elves at any one location. Yet as impressive as these last walled elven cities are, they are old, dirty, and overcrowded. Tottering relics of an earlier age that might not yet given up the ghost.
That's a contemporary term from the 90s.
I know. The scrub plains, scraggly forest, and parched earth were once lush forests, grassy plains, and farmlands dotted with hundreds of elven villages and towns. Caravan routes crisscrossed the land like giant spiders' web etched into the earth, and hundreds of travelers walked the well-worn roads every day. Well-worn roads. Say that 3 times fast. Rising up from the hills towered the elven city and citadels where the most powerful kings, wizards, and warriors on the planet once dwelled. It was once said that the elven cities, with their many towers, great stone pyramids, and buildings often as high as 20 stories, looked like giant celestial crown come to rest upon the ground. Stone pyramids are important. Again, stone magic was a thing. It was one of the things that was lost in the Elf Dwarf Wars, but Atlanteans still knew it. The elven cities were famous as places of higher learning, magic, and science. An estimated 100 million elves are believed to have once inhabited this rich center of the continent.
Not no more.
No, not no more. The last of the famous Titans also found refuge in these gleaming cities, along with other friendly races like the fledgling humans, as well as clans of submissive goblins, hobgoblins, and orcs, which comprise the heart of the elven labor force. Okay, I gotta give credit where credit is due. You take a monster race, you beat it into submission, and you put it to work. That's
domesticated
what you do.
orcs. Oh, that's my trade. I trade in domesticated orcs.
There you go. There you go. You know, I credit where credit is due. They knew their shit. In the mountains, hills, and some lowlands, and even under some of the elven cities, laid the innocuous dwarven empire. Except for a handful of surface cities and trading posts, the average surface dweller had no idea what wonders lay beneath their feet. Vast subterranean networks of tunnels, mines, villages, and cities cut through the earth and mountains like a series of massive beehives. Just think of the mines of Moria, only everywhere.
Gates of Thor Barton.
There you go. A dwarven city often seemed to appear like a glittering jewel at the end of a dark subterranean tunnel or cave. Magnificent stadiums, cathedrals, and entire cities were carved from bedrock. The walls of these cities were covered in carvings, artwork, and gems. Dwarves have a natural affinity for working stone, thus the walls and archways were often elaborately decorated with intricate carvings, reliefs, gargoyles, and statuary. Tiny, toy-like statues that fit in the palm of the hand were carved with stunning detail and realism, while statues from the size of a human to 100-foot-tall colossus lined the corridors or towered in the center of the underground courtyard or domed meeting hall. The dwarven statues seemed to include every conceivable subject, from aspects of their own culture and religion, gods and dwarven heroes, to surface dwellers, animals, insects, fish, birds, monsters, and more. The material used could be as simple as soapstone, quartz, or bedrock to marble, alabaster, ebony, jade, crystal, silver, and gold.
Okay, this writing is becoming very Tolkien-esque in its wordiness.
Yes. It's like to build a fire, only about dwarves. The material used, blah, blah, blah. Many use gems, diamonds, sapphires, emeralds, etc., or precious metals for additional ornamentation, but whether a simple stone carving or an ornate work accented with gems or precious metals, the workmanship was always impeccable and the object an exquisite work of art. To this day, dwarven statues, old and new, cut gemstones and jewelry are the most coveted in the world. Where their mighty dwarves tolerated their presence, or in the regions not yet claimed by dwarves, were kobolds, gnomes, and the occasional tribe of clan of troglodytes or goblins. Tolerated. Hey, if you're not a slave, then you're just in the way. The two empires would grow and reach heights of grandeur and knowledge that have never been surpassed. Liar. But it would all come crashing down during 2,000-year-long Elf-Dwarf War. When the fabled war was over, less than a dozen elven cities remained, and many of those were ravaged by the war. Once 100 million strong, less than 10 million survived.
And we were given the wrong number earlier.
Oh no, it said 9, and that's less than 10.
No. That was the elf side.
Yeah.
Oh, this is I'm sorry. This is the elf side. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. I thought this was dwarf side. Never mind.
Nope, not yet. We haven't gotten there yet. The lush forests, farmlands, and plains were obliterated. In many cases, scorched earth and scrawny forests remain of this day, though nearly 6,000 years have since passed. And as terrible as all this may sound, the dwarves suffered far greater losses, with over 230 million lost. You know why? Because of all of the bastard non-human races, elves are just better. Sad, but that's the way it is.
Mm.
The part
Define
of the
better.
tragedy, yeah, the part of better at killing. Obviously.
Okay.
I mean, that's it's more than a 2-to-1 right there. That's pretty good. The part of the tragedy that most seem to forget or choose not to discuss is the incredible losses suffered by other races. Titans, already depleted by their number with the war with the old ones, lost another 20% of their kind. The mountain-dwelling Rao men who fought on the side of the elves saw 60% of their race obliterated. Millions of orcs, goblins, and hobgoblins and kobolds fighting on both sides were slaughtered, and yet I seem not to care. Half of
there's still millions around. What the hell?
Yeah, there's still plenty more. They're like cockroaches. Who cares? Bloodthirsty gnomes and troglodytes are among the innocents caught in the troglodytes are innocents? 90% of the gnome race was decimated, along with 75% of the troglodyte race. Hobgoblins also saw their numbers reduced by 90%, although their involvement in the war was far from innocent. Yeah. Why the Old Kingdom, then a new kingdom, was so heavily populated by subterranean people remains a mystery. Some dwarven legends suggest that the Old Kingdom was the birthplace of many of the modern races and the place where the few surviving archaic races, elves, titan, changeling, and dragon, finally came to rest after their titanic battle with the old ones. That's possible. Excuse me, that's possible. The same legend suggests that the eastern mountains that separate the Old Kingdom from Temiro is the spine of Zai himself, the most powerful and evil of the legendary monsters. That's a lie. Many insist that the Tristan Chronicles seem to support this theory because this often quoted passage. And I don't want to quote disinformation, so I won't.
There you go.
Zai, the ruler of the Old Ones, was often referred to simply as Great Old One. Many scholars insist that this passage from the Tristan Chronicles provides Zai slumbers somewhere below the southeastern mountain chain of the Old Kingdom Mountains. That is a lie. He is trapped in a pocket dimension.
Shh, don't spell. Don't.
Hey,
I'm
telling like it is. There's nothing unusual about the mountains, and no expeditions by man or dwarf have been able to find any evidence of the Great Old One lies anywhere beneath them. Of course, less than 1% of the mountain's subterranean depths have been plumbed. Most scholars agree that the burning mountain is a reference to Mount Nimrod, which has been an active volcano since recorded history, which may have rested closer to the inland sea some 30 to 60,000 years ago.
Okay, time out here for a second.
Yeah.
Why is it that I recognize the Mount Nimrod name, but I don't recognize the Mount Nimro name? Is that from another game? Mount Nimrod?
Nimrod.
Not the you're such a Nimrod, but there's I could have sworn that Mount Nimrod is in a Palladium game that we played, or some other game that we played, because I didn't recognize Mount Nimro, but as soon as Mount Nimrod came up, I was like, yeah, I remember that for some reason. At least the name.
Okay. I don't know why.
Right.
The Old Kingdom is a warm, humid land with sprawling plains, deserts, marshland, subtropical forests to the south, and rolling hills, lush lowlands, and scattered forests to the north and east. Ironically, only a handful of elven cities remain not ironically, like we understand. Like over 90% of your people are dead. It's not ironic that only a couple of things. That was just a dumb sentence. The rest of their once grand kingdom is a domain of monsters. Humans have established a few outposts along the northern coast and near the Eastern Territory, but have found the hostile monster race is too much to deal with at this time. Now I think we should go to chat. What have you got start up?
I got a lot of them start up.
Well, then let's kick
going
it.
back. Rolled newspaper to fight the Wolfen. Asshole. Wolfen a couple of major vulnerable spots. Scratch them behind the ears, rub the tummies, surrender on the spot. This is not Battlelords of the 23rd century where you trick the Sizerek by where you dangle some string in front of them and the cats all of a sudden start playing. I bet if a wizard threw one, the Wolfen would run for him. Are we done now?
I don't know. Let's find out.
6,000 years of cat girls.
That for a lot of people, that would be utopia.
For the Eastern Territory, it's a combination of the Wild West and early medieval Europe. Yeah, it's kind of city-statish, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Don't know why I starred that one.
I don't know why either.
Nobody triggered me. You didn't trigger me. The Wolfen will rise again. Eating kobold lengthens your lifespan. Spread the word and they'll be harvested and ground into powder. Well, you'll get some Spanish explorers looking for them in Florida.
That was a good one.
So here, I'd assume landmass this world's equivalent of Pangea. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. To be fair, it doesn't matter to me. I think somebody posted in there like there might be a map with mileage. It doesn't matter. I can make it as big as I want. I'm sure there is though. Like I said, the Old Kingdom exists in story to explain where dungeons come from. Sure. And finally, I think you started this because I don't think I started this one.
I started this one, yes. Zai became tough. Okay, you brought it up. I wasn't going to bring it up, but brought it up in chat, which means it's organic now.
Are we spilling information that the average person isn't going to know and is going to ruin their game?
It's not. The average person can buy the other book and get it. Jeez. Zai was an old one, and a lot of the in before the revolt against the old ones, one of the old ones was captured in a specially created magic circle and transformed into the god Toth with his memories erased. And it's said that the god Toth actually came up with the spell to put all the other old ones asleep. And then Brahma, Zarvan, and many other gods actually powered that spell and keeps them asleep to this day. So yes, yeah, an old one. Toth was an old one, but doesn't remember that, and he doesn't care.
Everybody's trying to tell me where I got Nimrod from. No, I'm talking specifically Palladium. I could have swore that there was something Palladium. Maybe I was just misreading it, or maybe I don't know. Maybe every time I saw Nimrod, I thought it was Nimrod, but whatever. So Mount Nimrod. It's a place of giants. Let's move on. The Balgor Wastelands. This one's actually kind of important. Is Nimrod really important to Palladium? People can read it on the screen, right?
No,
Yeah, okay.
no, not really.
The Innsloth is going to be important, and I think Balgor Wastelands are important as well. So, Balgor Wastelands, This is a vast terrain of rocky lowlands. Oh, hold on. Stop. Is this about? No, that's crap. Where is this Balgor?
Occasional patches of grass, blah blah. Today the Balgor is populated by. Yeah.
Okay.
At the top, yeah. No.
Okay.
At the top of page 286.
I just want to make sure that wasn't the Timiro Kingdom.
Yeah, right there. Yeah,
okay,
I think that's it.
Got it. So people can see that. This is a vast terrain of rocky lowlands, parched earth, and deserts. Occasional patches of grass or scrub appear here and there, but for the most part, the land is desolate. It's hard to imagine this forbidding land could have ever been a lush forest and home to the greatest of the ancient elven cities. Today, the Balgor Wastelands is populated by nomadic tribes of orcs. There's a slap in the face. Haha, orcs are here now. And the occasional band of goblins, hobgoblins, kobolds, ogres, Lugaru, I don't know what that is, Endroth, and weird other names of things that I don't want to talk about. Larger numbers of goblins, ogres, and kobolds, as well as trolls, can be found in the lowlands and mountains that form the Bowl. I know it says Bowl. I know. But it said bowels above. I want to say bowels again. That contain the wasteland. According to some local myth, the gods of light and darkness were involved in the conflict that created the wastelands. Okay, now we're starting to mix our history up a little bit there, because wasn't that during the human times? All right. Now, I say Timiro only because it just looks Japanese to me. I think, what did you call it? The Timiro?
Yeah. It doesn't really matter.
However it's pronounced. This is one of the humans' oldest kingdoms, rich with merchants and paraphernalia. Oh, I love paraphernalia. From across the world. It remains the wealthiest and most influential of the independent human kingdoms. Its greatest woe. Okay, that's going to be stuck in my brain for a while. Is the numerous wandering tribes of ogres and orcs who continually lay waste to the border towns and interrupt land trade between the old kingdom, not Western anymore, it's just the Western Empire, and the Eastern Territory. The ogres inhabit the mountains which border the Timiro kingdoms, providing them with natural defenses. For more information, blah, 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 you can read those books. And finally, I think it's fine. Oh, no, we got Yinsloth. Land of the South Winds. Now look at that. This is south. Apparently it's windy. Let's find out why. The land of the South Winds is an expansive, flat land of arid, short grass plains and numerous marshes and swamps.
Well, now you know why it's windy. It's all flat.
Yeah. The southern coastline is the tail of the Yinsloth jungles and is unexplored. This inhospitable environment is one of the reasons the territory has never been fully developed, even though it is one of the oldest human-held lands. If it's inhospitable and never been fully developed, is it really held by anybody? I'm just, saying.
Yeah. It's more like no one wants it, so whatever.
We call it. The South Winds is largely populated by humans and kobolds. It is a fairly strong sea power, trading primarily with the Timiro Kingdom and the Western Empire, as well as suspected of piracy. Really?
Arg, matey.
That's where the pirates come from, the swamplands, compared to the other
Pirates of the South Winds.
It's Pirates of Florida.
There you go.
Got it.
Florida man.
Xanth. We
Florida
found
man lives
Xanth.
there. Yeah, marshes and swamps, lots of flat land. Florida man. Yeah, there it is.
It's the poorest of the lot and geographically segregated. It's got all types of trailer barns.
Yep.
All right, and finally, before we show you a map, and because I know there's nothing after the map, the Yin Sloth jungles covers much of the southern hemisphere and remain almost entirely unexplored. It is a place of archaic religions, ancient gods, and monstrosities of all sorts. It is a primeval land steeped in mystery and superstition that is avoided by humans and most others to the north. See much more information about this in Book 7, Yin Sloth Jungles, which apparently there's going to be a second edition book that comes out. And the Floenry Isles are a chain of islands populated by barbaric humans and non-human races southeast of the jungle. An air of mystery exists concerning them, and is rumored that the last of the elven lords took refuge on them. Some believe a civilization of warrior elves still exists on one of the islands.
The elven version of the Amazons. Okay.
And here we go. A little bit better filled out map so you can see some of the places we were talking about. Lopan and Phi specifically, Eastern Territories. Okay, so Land of the South Winds was actually over here. So this was the Yin Sloth. So when you look at these maps, this is Yin Sloth. There isn't one for Land of the South Winds. Got it. So, see, Land of the South Winds. Hopefully you can see my mouse. And Yin Sloth, Bulgar Wastelands.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Mount Nimrod, Mount Nimro. Okay, so they're paired. Got it. There you go. The domain of man. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. And after that, it goes into player races, which we already covered. Woo.
Yeah.
That took a little longer than I thought, but it was fun.
Yeah, that was good.
So stop sharing. It's okay. Since I don't have chat up effectively on the screen, I'll let you poke out some chat that you think is good. Like everything.
Okay. Let's see here. So, Darth says, yeah, Sai only ever messed up one spell, and that was it. Yeah, he was trying to do something, and he screwed himself over, which gave the beings of light who would rebel against the old ones the ability to turn him into, a force that they could use to destroy the other, or at least defeat the other old ones. Nimrod was a Bible figure, mighty king and hunter. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But there's a Palladium context that for some reason it might just be this. Maybe it's this map or something, that I saw Nimrod and didn't see Nimrod because calling people a Nimrod was fun.
Balgor is west of the mountains, isn't it?
West of the Yin Sloth, the mountains that protect from the Yin Sloth. Well, it's actually east of those.
Well, yeah, it's east of those mountains, but it's west of the Old Kingdom mountains.
Let's do this again. Balgor.
See it? Yeah, it's right there.
Mountains.
It's west of the Old Kingdom, but east of the Yin Sloth jungles. So yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it doesn't matter. You could buy. I mean, and this isn't to Kevin Sullivan, but to everybody out there, if we weren't 100% accurate on that, you could buy the book and have the map yourself. I saw one on here I wanted to look at.
Balgor Wasteland is south of the inland. Oh yeah, he's answering. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. I only got here a moment ago.
Yeah.
Isn't the basis for the world the Pangea lamp? Yeah, basically yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's what was in Kevin's mind, but it looks like it could be.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah. Let's see here. Well, Max, we're in the show. We're at the end. No, we're at the end of segment 1. And we just went through all of the kingdoms and empires and where they're located in the world of Palladium Fantasy.
Some of the historical lore and
some of the historical lore of the time frame.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. All right, that was good.
All right, well, as always, please subscribe, like, share. Now, next week, Ethan, I was going to put up a poll, but I decided not to. Go ahead, people in chat. Go ahead. Sorry for people who are commenting, but Heathen Dog needs time to set this up. But people in chat, go ahead and put, he's only going to make a human. He's already said that. We can't convince him to make anything else, so don't try. What OCC, PCC, RCC, whatever CC is out there within this book, within the main book that we've kind of covered, do you want to see Heathen Dog mate? It could be a man-at-arms. It could be the Diabolist. It could be, that's not Leyline Walk. What the hell is it called here? I guess just Wizard. The Mind Mage. It could be the Merchant. Think of the Merchant.
Priest of Light.
Priest of Light.
Too. Yeah. Yep. Paladin. Fine.
So whatever. And you can look them up
Necromancer
online.
isn't in the main book, is it?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't remember seeing it. Maybe. So yeah, whatever's in the main book, you can look up the OCCs. So you know what we move into segment 2 here. But go ahead and put into chat, and that's what he should be what Priest of Darkness. See, people always do that. They know what you don't want to do, and they put it in there.